Hello everyone, it's Kiki, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. And today I am going to be working with clay, which I haven't worked with for a while. But I really do like it. I've used it to make a few props, such as a no-face mask, and some little golden nuggets. I've also made a little bill cipher. Today I wanted to try and make something a little bit more detailed, I guess. So I figured I haven't really done any fan work for Studio Ghibli movies, Ghibli, however you say it, other than the no-face mask for my brother's costume. So figured I would attempt to do a Totoro, holding his umbrella up, which is going to be difficult, and keeping Clacifer, see, I'm thematic here, keeping Clacifer out of the rain. That's the goal of what I'm going to attempt to be doing. And then after I bake it, I will get my paints out and I'll paint it and hopefully make it look somewhat decent. And so I'll see you at the end of the video with the finished project that hopefully looks good.
So before I started the recording, I'd made sure I softened up the clay with the clay softener that I had bought at Hobby Lobby, just to make sure that it didn't take me forever to actually mush it into the shapes I wanted, and then started to work on getting the shape of Totoro, which at first I was kind of worried about, just because I couldn't help but see chubby fat penguin. I'm like, no, he's not supposed to be a chubby fat penguin. But once I put his ears on, he started looking more like Totoro, and I was pretty happy with how he was turning out. The little nose kind of annoying me. It took me forever to get it to a shape close to what I wanted, but it is what it is. I was really worried, as I said earlier, about his umbrella arm. One, because I know that Totoro himself actually holds the umbrella with his claws, and attempting to do that was not going to happen, essentially. So I just kind of had it at his little paws hole wrapped around it, and I added in a little bit of armature wire into the arm to add support to it. After I did Totoro, I worked on Clacifer, and you have to be really quick to catch it, but every now and then you might see a third hand appear in the video. It's actually my brother's hand. He had come in to talk to me and was helping me make little flingy bits to add on to Clacifer, because he's awesome. And then I made a little place for them to stand with little puddles and rain and rocks, and yeah, and I'll add in little comments here and there as I go, and that's just the overview. So did you see it? Did you see the hand? It was right there. So with the umbrella, it's probably the only part of this that I'm not completely happy with. I wish I had done it a different way. But it is what it is, and it didn't turn out too bad. I'm still happy with what I did manage to get out of it. But it is definitely the only thing I would change, which is kind of saying something, considering I didn't really know what I was doing when I started doing this. But yeah, no, it was interesting trying to figure it out, and I kind of wish I hadn't cut it apart. I wish I had left it together and then just kind of kept trying to shape it a little bit more. But it is what it is. I had fun making the little placemat for them to stand on. I tried to make it looked like there was little rain splashes, and it didn't look the way I wanted to, so I kind of just gave up on it and started adding in little grass tufts which look like tentacles. So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do to show that this is grass? I mean, I knew a lot of it was just the fact that it was all white, so there was no color definition. But I decided to add in kind of like a cobblestone look to it, and that helped make the grass look a little bit more like grass coming out from between the stones. After I baked everything, I did a white base coat on everything and started gluing the pieces of the umbrella back together. And I at one point just shut off the camera because I needed to do sanding on the umbrella pieces because they weren't fitting together right. And it took me like 40 minutes to sand them properly to a position where they would fit. So I was doing Totoro's face, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, it looks really weird. Why does it look so weird? And it took me like, I had finished Clacifer, and then I looked at Totoro again, and then I was actually watching My Neighbor Totoro, and I looked at the screen, and I was like, oh, I forgot to give him a nose. That's why his face looks weird. So I gave him a nose. That happened. Trying to paint Clacifer was a pain in the butt because he's so tiny and you're trying to hold him and move him around so you can get all of them, and then all the paint's coming off on your fingers and it's like, ah, sigh. And trying to like do his mouth and not make it look weird was really hard, and I eventually like just gave up. I think I tried like 6 times to make his mouth look okay. And then it was just like, screw it. Landscape. Yep, there's his nose. So I figured it was best with this part to start with the biggest area and do the base color. So I started with the dark green and just painted all the areas I could get to, trying to make sure I got into all the little nooks and crannies, which was really hard. And then did the grass tufts, followed by the stones, and then finally the water, and added in a few details. I really like how my stones turn out. I think every time I do stones, no matter what medium it is, I am going to make a comment about liking how the stones turn out. I think that's just going to exist. I tried to add in highlights and shadows with the water, the grass, and the rocks, and I think I did a fairly decent job on it. I'm pretty happy with it. They look like rocks. The water doesn't really look like water, but the rocks look like rocks, and I'm happy about that. Yay! I tried to add in detailing to Totoro and it didn't work, so I just didn't. I also changed the position his eyes were, because it was kind of weird just having them stare blankly into the front. So I had him looking down towards Clacifer. And then just as a little extra, I had a small piece of clay left over, so I'm like, what can I do with this? And I had a Kuromon figure at the back of my deck, so I'm like, oh, make it into Kuromon! So this is my very lame attempt at Kuromon that you get as a freebie. I also just kind of wanted something to test this gloss stuff out with before I actually put it on Totoro and the other stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, that turns out really well. So I used it, and I liked it. I tried to use the gloss to accentuate the parts that were really wet, and then I used my varnish spray just as a sort of misting effect to kind of try and give more of a overarching rain look to it, and I think it worked out pretty well using the combination of the two of them, and I'm really happy with it.
So, we are finally done with our Totoro and Clacifer. Look at them, they're so cute. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Really like how I managed to get their little platform to look. The umbrella! But Totoro looks like Totoro, and Clacifer looks like a fire? Yeah, I had fun with this, even though it took way longer than I thought it was going to. I think my clay skills are getting a bit better. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be making more clay in the future, considering I only used that one chunk that was left over from the last time I did clay, so I still have 3 whole things that I bought from Hobby Lobby still. But yeah, so that's the end of this, and if you enjoyed my very I don't know what I'm doing attempt at clay and slowly getting better at it, and want to go check out my other videos, then feel free to do that, and maybe subscribe to see more videos, and come join me on my art journey, and maybe I'll see you around. Bye!